What I'm going to do here in these demos is show you an assortment of things. Some very basic techniques that pretty much everyone is going to use in the course of their project. Some sort of off-the-wall things, basically to just give you an idea of what kind of wacky stuff you can try and kind of get your creative juices flowing. So there'll be a little bit of everything here. The one big advantage of doing this in this video format is that I can then go back and edit out a lot of just the waiting time that's involved in chocolate work. But I do want you to be aware that since you are watching this video, that all of that has been taken out just to sort of be able to compress it and give it a little bit more flow. But in the actual work, when you're actually getting down to do this, it's not going to flow so smoothly and seamlessly. You're going to end up having to wait for chocolate to do this, wait for chocolate to do that, to get just the right point to work it. And a lot of this stuff you simply can't rush. You've got to expect when you're coming in that there's going to be a lot of dead time, a lot of waiting time. And sometimes you can overlap processes, so that while this chocolate over here for this piece is giving just the right point to cut later, you can go ahead and be working that. So you have many things going simultaneously, many threads of the project going simultaneously. You do need to use your time effectively in this project. It's deadly to get into, work yourself into time corners where you simply don't have anything to do because you're stuck in this particular part of the project. So you need to kind of plan around that. 4 classes may seem like a lot to finish this project. In fact, it's about the amount of time you'll need, assuming that you're not losing time along the way. You can really get yourself into a crack at the end if you're not careful. We're going to begin by taking a look at the simple business of what we call casting a slab. Casting a slab is pretty much the same operation that we did when we spread out our ganaches that we cut for our hand-dipped candies. Where basically you're going to take tempered chocolate and you're going to spread it out in a thin, even layer, allow it to begin to set, and then you can cut out whatever shapes you want from that slab of chocolate. Like with our ganache, we have an assortment of different bars of various thicknesses, some metal, some plastic, ranging in thickness from 1/8 of an inch. This is 1/4 of an inch. We have 1/2 inch, 3/8 of an inch. By using various combinations, you can get quite thick. There's a limit to the thickness of a slab you can cast. If you get too thick, then the slab that you cast will set quickly on the top layer and on the bottom layer, but remain soft in the center. And it's very difficult to work with a slab like that as far as cutting out shapes from it, because although it may look dry, at its heart it's still liquid, and you're not going to be able to cut that out. So really about a 1/2 inch thick slab is the thickest you would ever make, and even that's not real easy. I'm just going to demonstrate the basic technique using these 1/4 inch bars then. So suppose I wanted to create a shape like this out of chocolate. Basically flat, but having this shape. Most often you'll want to actually have a pattern, create a pattern first for the shape that you want to cut out, especially if it's going to be something precise. If it's rather free form, you can just kind of wing it as you're cutting it out with a knife. But if you need a specific shape, say you're putting together I don't know, a chocolate building of some sort, or a chocolate box, and all the pieces have to fit together just so. The way to go about that is to first make your patterns out of cardboard. Make them so that they fit together the way you want your final piece to fit together. And that way, when the chocolate is ready for cutting, all you have to do is use this as your cutting guide. So this is just some random shape that I hacked out of a piece of cardboard here. But my slab, I know, is going to need to be at least that wide, so I'm going to give myself a little margin for error and place the bars a little further apart. And when I'm creating my slab, I'm just going to let the chocolate overrun the ends here. I don't need to put anything here to block or down here to block. I'm getting my thickness from the thickness of the bars that I'm using here. And I'm just going to let the slab that I cast extend further than the length of my piece. So now I'm just going to put down a piece of parchment here. Take my tempered chocolate. Always give it a good stir before you use it. Here I've got my little individual bowl because I didn't temper all the chocolate in the machine. But when you're actually working on the project, you'll have the whole machine over there full of tempered chocolate, and you can just go over there and draw chocolate from it. So you won't actually have your own reserved bowl here necessarily to work from. You can just go and dip out of the machine. So I'm going to pour about the amount that I think I'm going to need here between the bars. Spread it roughly. I'm going to use the spreader bar to actually get it down to my final thickness. And that last pull I'm going to make slowly and evenly so that I get an even thickness all through the slab. The slab I've ended up with then is longer than I need it to be, and it's wide enough, so I'm happy with that. Now I have to wait for just the right point at which to cut this. Obviously it's tempered chocolate, so within a few minutes it's going to start setting. I can't cut until it's well on its way to setting. The way I know that it's at the proper point for cutting is when I can touch here in the center of the slab. I can just take my finger and touch it there in the center of the slab, and the chocolate doesn't try to come away with my finger. It may feel a little bit sticky to the touch, but when I lift my finger away, it doesn't, say, leave a peak there in the center of the chocolate. I can touch it and lift my finger away, and basically it doesn't come away with my finger, it just stays put. It'll leave a fingerprint, but it won't try to come away with my finger. And that's the point at which I can begin to think about making my cut. Because I'm using metal bars here, they're pulling heat out of the tempered chocolate. And so the chocolate is going to set first alongside the bars before it sets here in the middle. I'm going to look for some dulling, the evidence of drying here next to the bars. And when I see that dulling begin, which it's already actually starting here, then I'm going to take my knife and trim the bars away. It's easier to do that before the chocolate really gets hard next to the bars. Then it becomes difficult to trim it away. So the first thing I'm doing is looking for signs of dulling here along the bars. And